All right, so we're diving headfirst into this Sweet 16 matchup, huh? Kentucky, Tennessee, March 28th, 2025.
Yep, round 3 for these SEC rivals.
But this time, it's win or go home in the NCAA tournament.
The stakes just got a whole lot higher.
We're talking number 3 Kentucky, 24-11 on the season, going up against number 2 Tennessee with a 29-7 record.
2 powerhouse programs.
Yeah, and a ton of questions swirling around this matchup.
For sure.
In this deep dive, we're going to cut through the noise, focus on the data, and look at one key question. Can Tennessee pull off the straight-up win?
All right, let's break it down.
Sounds good to me. First things first, let's look at what the odds makers are saying.
Right to the betting lines.
Over at BetMGM's Sportsbook, Kentucky is sitting at plus 170 on the money line. So that plus sign, that means, what, a $100 bet on Kentucky would net you a $170 profit if they win.
Not bad.
But flip it over to Tennessee, they're the favorite at minus 210.
So you need to wager 210 to win 100 on the Vols.
Exactly. So what's the takeaway from these odds?
Well, these numbers aren't just pulled out of a hat. They're reflecting how the odds makers see this game unfolding.
Based on all those complex algorithms and stuff.
Exactly. And that minus 210 on Tennessee suggests they have a higher perceived probability of winning.
Higher ranking, better record overall, probably some key matchups they like.
That's right. And that strong defensive profile for Tennessee probably plays a part there, too.
Which we will definitely unpack in a bit. But before we get too deep into the weeds, I want to see what the experts who live and breathe this stuff are saying.
Good idea. See if their predictions line up with the odds.
So one prediction we've got has Tennessee winning by a hair, 72-70.
A nail-biter.
Yeah, but what's interesting is even though they're predicting a Tennessee win, they're actually suggesting you might want to consider taking Kentucky with the points. Just, for a little bit of insurance.
Okay. Hedging their bets a bit.
Then we've got another prediction that sees a slightly wider margin, 76-73, still in Tennessee's favor.
So there's a consensus on the winner, but the closeness of the predicted scores.
Definitely adds a layer of intrigue, right? I mean, we can't talk about this matchup without acknowledging history.
Of course not.
And recent history definitely favors the Wildcats.
In a big way.
They've actually beaten Tennessee twice this season.
I remember.
78-73 back in January, down in Knoxville.
Tough place to win.
And then a more convincing 75-64 victory in Lexington in February.
In front of the home crowd.
Exactly. And you zoom out even further, Kentucky's got a 7-3 record against Tennessee in their last 10 matchups.
But pretty dominant.
So how do we square that with the predictions that favor Tennessee this time around?
It's the age-old question, right?
Yeah.
How hard is it to beat a good team 3 times in one season?
Especially when it's a rival, inside and out.
Because the thing is, every time these teams meet, Tennessee gets another chance to see what worked for Kentucky, what didn't, and then adjust their game plan.
It's like they're getting 2 dress rehearsals before the main event.
Right. So you got to figure they'll come into this game more prepared than ever. But on the flip side, Tennessee's coming in with some serious motivation.
They've got a lot riding on this game.
This is their 3rd straight Sweet 16 appearance.
They're looking to make it back-to-back trips to the Elite Eight, something they've never done before.
And the whole city of Knoxville is behind them, hoping for a Final Four run, let alone Coach Barnes.
Yeah, he's been chasing a Final Four berth for a long time. So can that hunger, that drive to make history actually swing a game like this?
It's hard to quantify motivation, I'll admit that. But you can't deny the impact it can have, especially on a veteran team like Tennessee.
Guys who understand the magnitude of the moment.
Right. They're not just playing for a win. They're playing for their legacy. So let's get down to brass tacks here, starting with Tennessee's strengths. Statistically, their defense is their bread and butter. Nationally, they're 8th in points allowed, holding opponents to just 62.9 per game on average.
That's stingy.
It is. And their defensive efficiency is elite, too, 9th in the nation at 84.9 points allowed per 100 possessions.
So they're not just preventing points, they're controlling the whole pace of the game.
Forcing turnovers, disrupting offensive flow. It's a defense that can wear you down, which is huge in a tournament setting.
And then, to make matters worse for Kentucky, they've got that veteran backcourt running the show for Tennessee.
Lanier and Ziegler?
Chaz Lanier, the transfer, he's been a revelation, leading scorer at 18.1 points per game. And he's hitting a ridiculous 3.33 threes per game.
He actually set a school record with over 120 three-pointers made this season.
That's a flamethrower right there. And then there's Zakai Zeigler, a true floor general. Around 15 points, 6 assists. But he's a menace defensively, too, averaging 2 steals per game.
A well-rounded player.
So you've got this seasoned duo who can score, create, and defend at a high level. That's a tough matchup for any team.
Especially in a win-or-go-home situation.
Now, let's give Kentucky their due. Offensively, they are electric, averaging 85 points per game, 6th in the nation.
That's a high-powered offense.
And what's really interesting is how well they've shot the three against Tennessee in their 2 previous meetings.
50% from beyond the arc in both games.
12 of 24 each time.
That kind of shooting can torch any defense.
So the question is, can Tennessee replicate that defensive performance again, or will Kentucky light them up from deep?
That's the key, isn't it?
I mean, you got to think they'll be focusing on running Kentucky off the three-point line.
Definitely. It's worth remembering, though, that Tennessee has held opponents to just 28.3% from three this season.
Yeah, so they're no slouches when it comes to defending the perimeter.
Right. And even in those 2 losses to Kentucky, Tennessee managed to keep them under 80 points both times.
So clearly their defense had some success.
It's a chess match.
Exactly. Another thing to consider is the venue for this game. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis.
Neutral court.
No home court advantage for Kentucky this time around. And some folks even think the deeper shooting backdrop in a big arena like Lucas Oil could actually favor Tennessee's shooters.
Interesting point.
Those NBA-style arenas can definitely throw off some players' depth perception.
It's something to think about.
Lastly, let's glance at the betting trends, even though we're focused on the money line today. Apparently, Tennessee is 12 and 13 against the spread when favored by 4.5 points or more. But again, we're just concerned with who wins the game outright.
The money line is all about picking the winner. Straight up.
Okay, so let's put it all on the table. Expert predictions leaning towards a Tennessee win, although it's expected to be close. We've got Kentucky's recent dominance over Tennessee, but we know it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season.
Especially a rival like Tennessee.
Plus, we've got Tennessee's suffocating defense and their motivated veterans gunning for a program first. And of course, we can't forget the neutral court, which could tilt things in their favor.
A lot of factors pointing towards Tennessee.
So based on everything we've explored in this deep dive, the smart money seems to be on a Tennessee moneyline win.
But as always, sports are unpredictable.
Absolutely.
We've weighed the evidence, but the game will play out on its own terms. Ultimately, you have to make your own judgment call based on what you've heard.
That's the fun of it, right?
Yeah.
But before you lock in your bets, here's something to consider. Kentucky has already cracked the code against Tennessee's defense twice this season.
It's true.
So will the pressure of the NCAA tournament combined with that neutral court be the difference maker that finally lets Tennessee lock down a victory?
It'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
That's for sure. All right, folks, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Kentucky versus Tennessee. We'll see you next time.
See you then.